We are live on YouTube.
Perfect. Thank you all for the tech support. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. I'll start with a roll call. I'm Joshua Stegner. I am present. Andrea LaFleur.
Present.
Thank you. Dory Burnett.
Here.
Thank you. Brock Grigsby.
Here.
Hey, Brock. Is Sarah Hayworth with us? I don't see her. No. All right. Talia Henry.
Here.
Thank you. And Dina Kisis.
Here.
Thank you. And administration, Denise is not here. Dr. Saunders.
Good evening. Glad to see you.
Thank you. Truth Nube.
Present.
Thank you. And Craig Wilson.
Present.
Thank you all. If you would please go ahead and rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Just right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, I'm going to go ahead and read the virtual meeting finding, and then we'll need an approval of that. The finding is that Gorman Learning Charter Network Board of Directors determines in accordance with Government Code Section 54953 E1B, that meeting in person would present imminent risks to the health or safety of attendees pursuant to Government Code Section 54953 E3. The board has also reconsidered the circumstances of the state of emergency declared by the governor on March 4th, 2020, and finds the state of emergency continues to directly impact the ability of the directors to meet safely in person, and or that state or local officials continue to impose or recommend measures to promote social distancing. If I could please have a motion, and then we can approve this.
I move to
Motion.
the official meeting finding and approval.
I second.
Thank you both. And then we will vote by roll. I'm Josh. I vote aye. Andrea, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Dory,
Aye.
Brock,
Aye.
Talia,
Aye.
and Dina.
Aye.
Thank you. Our meeting virtually is approved. The next item will need an approval of the agenda for tonight's meeting.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
I second.
Thank you. Again, we'll vote by roll. I'm Josh. I vote aye. Andrea,
Aye.
Dory,
Aye.
Brock,
Aye.
Sarah. Oh, sorry, Sarah's not here. Talia,
Aye.
Dina.
Aye.
All right, the agenda is approved. Next step will be to approve the minutes from our last meeting, the September 13th meeting.
I motion to approve.
I second.
Thank you. I'm Josh. I vote aye. Andrea,
Aye.
Dory,
Aye.
Brock,
Aye.
Talia,
Aye.
and Dina.
Aye.
Thank you. The minutes from the September 13th meeting is approved. The next item is communication from the public. I'll give a minute or so. There's the link right there. If you'd like to speak in our meeting, anything from the public, feel free. You can click on that link and we'll get you the invitation. All right, I just clicked refresh a couple times. Nothing new came through, so we'll go ahead and assume there is nothing from the public. How about comments from board members concerning any items not on the agenda? Anything? All right. The next item will be our consent agenda. Hopefully you've had a chance to take a look at that in the back of the board packet. Unless there's anything that needs to be pulled for further questioning, I could use a motion and then a second.
I motion to approve.
I second.
All right, then I am Josh. I vote aye. Andrea,
Aye.
Dory,
Aye.
Brock,
Aye.
Talia,
Aye.
Dina.
Aye.
Thank you. The consent agenda is approved. We're going to turn this over now to representatives from our administration, our interim executive director, I believe. Dr. Saunders, are you planning on presenting, or was this going to be Chris Campbell?
I don't think Chris is here. I know y'all have it in your packet, had a chance to look. Although I think Coleman was here, but essentially the IT team went to a conference and they responded from each member in the IT team to share what they got from it. I will say that like it does connect to some of the issues that are beyond Gorman that are current, like cybersecurity. Some of that is in the report, one of the priority areas. And of course, we're smaller, but I'm sure everybody's heard by now about LAUSD getting hacked, and it would be a target because they're so big. At the same time, some of the discussion you'll see in the report back has to do with ensuring that we have security, some of the backups that they have going on to assist if something were to happen and someone were to try to hack our system. Some of the so they're using some backups. The actual technical lingo I don't know, but they do have systems and plans in place to avoid being hacked, and then also to be able to respond if something were to happen. So I think that was a big part of what they brought out of the conference in terms of applying it back to us. I know that additionally, there are platforms that the IT team we're working on. For example, we're working on trying to streamline a kind of a one-stop shop for all the hundreds of apps that our students use and teachers use, so that there's like one platform where they can access all those just by signing into their single sign-on, their email. The IT team did a great job of putting that in motion this year so that we're using single sign-on. And now it's just a matter of kind of bridging that opportunity with some of the platforms we're using. I don't know, unless there's any other questions, I think that was the majority of what was there, but they were pretty detailed. Both Abel, Coleman, and Chris were able to put some good details in there.
Yeah, I saw a little blurb. I think Coleman noted just about getting back to meeting in-person board meetings and kind of being able to support that from a networking standpoint, to be able to still live stream and accommodate multiple sites. So that is kind of our goal, and we're even looking at maybe next month, ideally. So I'm glad to see there was some of that worked on at that conference.
Yeah, it was really good. Even with our enrollment process, that is another platform that we're working on improving. The vendor that supports our information system is connected with our enrollment, and they've actually come out with a product to support a more streamlined enrollment. I know there's been a discussion at some of the recent board meetings, enrollment. So part of that is we want it to be an easy process for parents. And we wanted that to also be kind of a one-stop shop where when they enroll, all those forms that parents have to sign are taken care of through that. So I really appreciate all the hard work the IT team is doing. In fact, Coleman, like the other day, the entire internet went down at the Santa Clarita Resource Center. He thought quickly. He got Spectrum out there before anybody else was able to reach out, because it wasn't just us, it was across Santa Clarita. And then he brought a whole bunch of hotspots down. So just appreciate his quick thinking on that. And then we are going to recognize some people, some well-deserved educational partners here. Before I do that, just a quick update on us. We are, I know we like to hear about enrollment numbers. So I'll just update that we do have, I'll give a few categories. So we have for our school-wide ELC, we have 1,187 enrolled. And for SBSC, we have 1,259 enrolled. And then essentially we've knocked out the wait list so that everybody who was trying to get in, we've pretty much gotten in. From what I'm told, the only ones who are still on the wait list really just aren't responding to our offer. So I appreciate all the hard work that's gone into that. Also, to share resource center numbers, Redlands has 249 students, SCRC has 442 students, and AVRC has 524 students being served at those. And then our virtual resource center, which is very unique, and we've heard a lot of great compliments from people who've looked at that from the outside. GLC has 225 VRC students, and SBSC has 300 enrolled as students for the virtual center. So a lot of good work going on there. We do have a team actually heading out next week to our own conference. It's the A+ conference, which is an organization very focused on our type of charter, which we are codifying as flex-based instructional charters. And so we're going to be spending a few days in San Diego. We actually have some of our own staff who are going to be presenting, which is a great tip off to the wonderful talent and expertise we have within our staff. They're going to be actually facilitating and training other people who are attending. The other thing we have going on are we have field trips. Our first field trip is starting tomorrow at the Peterson Auto Museum. A lot of incredible cars, fancy cars, movie cars. So the kids are going to get a chance to see that. They'll get some guided tours. And then we follow up that next week with the California Science Center. And then we're also working on some grants. As you know, a big part of the board discussion is budget. So we're looking at ways to increase that budget through grants. And we already turned in one a couple weeks ago to support our CTE program. And we have one due tomorrow that we're finalizing to turn in. I'll talk more about that in a later point on the agenda. But one of the reasons this is so important is because we know not all of our students, not just our students, but nationwide, they're not all going to four-year universities so much anymore. They are sometimes looking to come out of high school with certifications that can put them right into the workforce at very high levels. So some of the areas we're looking at expanding are ICT, media pathway, and our health pathway. There's a huge demand for in the health industry right now for nurses, for example. So we want to be able to have our students prepared for that. So that's another reason for us pursuing these grants. So yeah, let me just share some of the wonderful things that we want to share about these students and class and our staff that are being recognized. So Sarah, who also likes to go by Mahala, really, when I was reading her description, what she's got going on, it's really incredible. First of all, she feels honored, she feels blessed to be here. She represents herself as one who loves God, loves her family. And so she was nominated by her PLT, Miss Fields, who claims that she is a model of hard work. And she's gone through tough things in her life. So part of being a model of hard work is that you persevere, something that we want in our students. She's taken taken dual enrollment classes, and that has gone, she's used Grand Canyon University and also one of our local community colleges, Crafton, for her dual enrollment to have the opportunity to get ahead. As you can see, she says in her own words, she says, "I love Jesus. I have incredible support surrounding me always, including her mom and dad and sister. Her parents say that hard work pays off. She believes in that. She's competitive. She's determined. She's done what she can to try to set herself up for success," which I also interpret as a response to her family's support for her and being able to honor that. She wants to go into the medical field, and she's looking at graduating a year early. She says she talks about Gorman, so that's great to hear. Being a Gorman was what I needed. It's what she needed, you know. And I think a lot of you who are parents recognize how Gorman meets a need. But for some of her toughest seasons, she says, beyond her life, beyond the pandemic season, she had to be in a wheelchair. She had multiple doctor visits, hospital visits. She had surgery. And so I think, you know, like what she's saying is having an opportunity to go to a school like Gorman expands her opportunities and meets her needs and personalizes that learning. She worked ahead, she says. She also recognized the need to have a balance in her life. As she says, "I pray that my plans and dreams will be always in alignment with God's plan for my life. I can't do anything without him, but I can do everything through him who gives me strength." Some of the things she likes to do is travel. She's already been to 13 countries. She likes to write, swim, calligraphy writing, dancing. She's looking at she's kind of an advocate, looking to redefine this term disability and focus on the ability part of that term. So that was Sarah, or Mihaela. So glad to be able to recognize her as a student. And then one of our PLTs, Miss Alma Garcia. It's great when I see that, you know, of course everybody has their duties, but it's really fun when you start seeing how people are individualized and how maybe they take their own things that they're interested in and use that for the benefit of others. So with Miss Garcia, she's been here since 2017. She enjoys the opportunity which is given her by Gorman to work with homeless students, with students with disabilities. She likes the fact that Gorman individualizes instruction, and even in our independent studies program still has a focus on mental health. She's been a mentor teacher, so that's a great testament to her talent to be recognized as a mentor teacher in such a short time. She sees that herself as a great honor. It allows her to impart into new teachers the same way her own mentor teacher, Diane Sachs, imparted to her. She was nominated. Let's see. The person who nominated Alma said that while, I guess we're not saying here, but that person said that while managing to cover students, Alma is also helping to train PLTs and manage a home as an amazing wife to her husband, and continue to learn new methods of teaching. She was said that Alma is kind, patient, very deserving of the recognition, always looking for new ways to serve her students as a PLT. She has been some personal notes about her. She's been married for 16 years. They have 3 children, 16, 14, and 5 years old. All of her children attend Gorman, yay. They love school, they're recommended to their friends. Let's get them to keep recruiting for us. They're all active in their church and community. And lately they've been taking up fishing. So we want to thank Alma for all her hard work and her service to the families and fellow staff at Gorman. And then we have Rosanna Ortiz. who is one of our facilitators here in Redlands. She facilitates science. She's doing that since 2014. She's a real talent to be able to have in our resource center. She's credentialed in science, and she's been able to work with both our middle school and high school students. A big part of that is giving them like hands-on experiences, which I've noticed she does. I've been in her room. But those classes include life science, biology, chemistry, earth science, and physics. What she loves about working for Gorman is the camaraderie. And it is a great team up there. The community-like atmosphere. She said that she's had the honor and opportunity to work under great supervisors. Shout out there to Ms. Lewis, who each have helped create and foster a caring, compassionate, and resourceful center. The person who nominated her said she's extremely diligent. She's well respected by her peers. She always makes sure that she connects with her students to make sure that there's understanding. Like, what's the purpose of teaching if you're not learning, right? So it's great that that's part of her repertoire. She does make science fun. She makes it engaging. She spends a lot of time on her lesson planning and creating labs that are going to be purposeful. Students and families find that the science workshop at Redlands Resource Center is all the better for having Miss Rosanna. In her own time, she likes spending time with her family. She travels. One of the spots they like a lot is Cabo San Lucas. She enjoys mysteries and thriller novels. She kind of has a bent towards Stephen King. You would never know that, though, knowing her. You would never think of her as having that side to her. She's so sweet. But that's pretty interesting that she likes Stephen King. So thank you so much, Rosanna, for giving your students such a great gift here and being resourceful, being caring, and taking concepts that are very hard to understand, like science, and making them understandable for our students. We're glad to have you. We're lucky.
All right, thank you, Dr. Saunders. Truth, anything to present at this point?
Just
Josh, I've got some questions for Gary.
Sorry. Go ahead, Brock. Sorry, Truth, we'll come back to you.
All right, thanks. Yeah, Gary, in terms of the attendance numbers, I calculated a total of 2446 for both schools. How do these numbers, and maybe it's appropriate for Truth possibly to respond to this, how do these numbers reflect what's been budgeted in terms of student numbers? Are we on track? Are we on target? Because I know that we're funded according to student enrollment days.
now, based on what we budgeted for, we are not there yet.
Well, the SBSC is, I believe, because they're over 1250. So I think it's just the GLC that's a little bit short of what was projected.
Now, actually, SBSC was 1400, and then
Was it? Okay.
GLC, yeah,
All right.
because I think the total was 2600.
That's what was budgeted for, 2,600.
Correct.
Okay, so what is this? I mean, projecting it out month over month or for the end of the year, what does this project out as far as a deficit?
Well, that's why actually in my report I was gonna let the board know that one of the things that we are working on even from the fiscal standpoint of view is the first interim budget, and that's where we'll be revising, and then at the next board meeting or December board meeting, we'll be presenting and showing the impact after the revisions have been made.
All right, thank you. Hey, one more question, Gary. Do you have any details on these grants? I mean, is this like free money that we're applying for? Or is there any skin that we've got to put into the game here?
Yeah, it's matching 2-to-1 grants. Both of them are the same. So we are in the budget. We have to send a budget with the application to show what we have available to spend. And then that's used if we're approved to create the match.
When you say 2-to-1, 2 of our dollars for 1 of theirs, or opposite?
Yes, you had it right.
Is there a maximum amount that we could receive, or is there a specific amount that we could receive?
Not that I know of. No, I only know the big pot. So San Bernardino had $25 million available to distribute. So yeah, I don't think they actually quantify it for each individual school or district.
Also, are there any board members that are going to the A+ conference?
I'm not aware of that.
All right, last question for you. Sorry. Do you have any numbers on the Peterson field trip? How many are registered or enrolled, or is just?
Yeah, if you give me a second here. Peterson has about 60 families. It's about three per family there. So we're looking at close to 200 people attending.
And sorry, one last question. I'm just curious how the numbers are derived when you're talking about attendance at RRC, SCRC, and AVRC. How are those numbers derived? Is that unique students?
Those were shared with me. So when you say unique, I'm not clear.
Gary, would you like me to answer that one?
Please.
Hi, Brock. The numbers are derived of unique enrollments, students who have enrolled within the resource center. So yes, the number that you're receiving is each one number is one student that attends bare minimum of an hour, but possibly up to 2 half days.
Okay, per week. And so they've shown up at least
Yes.
1 week during the start of school here.
Yes, they have a maximum number of absences from workshops that they are allotted before they are removed so that someone on the waiting list can come in. And then they are also, any workshops that have too low of attendance are closed so that workshops that might be more highly attended can be opened.
And Kim, I don't know if you've got the answer to this question, but I could imagine that the VRC is used by students across the board, those that could possibly be attending concurrently the local resource centers. Do you have any information on that? Because when I look at the VRC, one thought is, well, these are unique students. These are students that don't attend any of the other RCs, but I can imagine there's going to be some overlap there. Do you have any numbers on that?
I do not currently have those numbers in front of me. I know that there is overlap, and I'd be happy to ask Jana to run some analysis on that.
I'd appreciate it.
Sure.
Thanks.
So I actually have a question because those are great questions, Brock, by the way, fantastic questions. I just had a question for Gary about the field trips because Brock's question made me think, is there, do we need to maintain a specific number of students like on these field trips so that we can continue having them?
All right. I'm so sorry. Could you restate it?
I was just wondering on these field trips, do we need to maintain a certain number of students going on these trips so that we can continue to offer the field trips? Because my understanding that before the pandemic, that field trips had come to a halt because we weren't getting enough people interested in attending the field trips. So I'm just curious if now that we're offering them again, if we have to, have at least 100 people per field trip so that we can continue offering this. Does that make sense?
I don't have, I'm trying to think through all of our field trips, and I don't think we have any minimums. There's some maximums. So it's there's, COVID had a big part in, I think, the stoppage of field trips. So, and I'm just coming on this year. So I just wanted to get it back up and rolling and serve the families. I know how important they are. The only thing is there's been a few where I've had to cap, but we're not at risk of like not having enough.
Okay, so what you're saying is we're not at risk of possibly not offering field trips anymore, no matter how low the attendance is.
Yeah, and you're talking about
Okay.
this year or the future?
Huh?
Were you talking about this year?
Yeah, I'm talking about in the future. Because I would hate for us to offer this great thing and be like, and then in a couple months, take it away because we're not seeing attendance. Instead, I would rather, if that's the situation, that we get advertising or marketing or whatever and make sure that we pull enough attendance so that we can continue offering it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, for this year, it's all set up. So it's just a matter of budgeting for next year and making sure it's in the budget.
Okay.
But it's been a great response. I've had a lot of interaction with families about it. So it's great. It's great to see the excitement, and I'm going to be there tomorrow. So I'll be chaperoning. I look forward to meeting a lot of families.
Good. Exciting. Awesome. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you, Gary. Appreciate it.
Anybody else have anything? I got to make sure I give some time for that. Appreciate you guys interjecting. All right. If not, we'll move on to Truth.
Thank you, Mr. President. One of the things already kind of I touched on when Brock asked his question. One of the things we're working on is now the first interim budget. And basically the first interim budget is when we revise certain numbers so that we can still remain solvent and adjust accordingly. And that covers basically the period of July 1 all the way to October 31st. So we've started kind of like working on that. And then the other thing I just wanted to inform the board is, whilst others will be attending the A+ conference, as Dr. Sanders mentioned earlier on, some of the fiscal team will be attending MIP conference. That's a conference that has to do with the accounting software that we use at Gorman. And if you remember, a few months back, we did bring it to the board and request that the board approve that. So that will be happening next week. So it will be a busy week for most of the fiscal staff. And we're also preparing for the auditors. The auditors are supposed to be coming back to do their final audit next month. So that's mainly what's happening on the fiscal side. And that's all I have this evening for now.
Okay, any questions for Truth at this point then? All right, then thank you both. We'll move on to the information discussion action agenda. The first item we have is the review, discussion, and approval of the letter of resignation from Erica Alverdi. As I mentioned, she is moving on to some other endeavors, and just for the sake of time and her own work, she's not able to continue serving on our board. So we appreciate her and her service the last year or so, and I just wish her the best moving forward. My recommendation is that we go ahead and accept her letter of resignation. If I could please have a motion.
I motion to approve the letter of resignation for Erica.
A second.
Thank you. Then we'll vote by roll. I'm Josh. I vote aye. Andrea,
Aye.
Dory,
Aye.
Brock,
Aye.
Talia,
Aye.
Dina.
Aye.
All right, thank you all. That resignation is approved. The next item is the review, discussion, and approval to fill a board vacancy. So on a similar note, we can decide at this point, we've got a seven person board, or see, no. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, we have a 7-person board. We can decide at this point to continue to move forward with that 7-person, or we can fill the vacant position. I'd like to fill the position. I think 8's a little better. But if anybody sees it different or thinks there might be an issue at 8, I'm happy to listen to happy to host discussion about that. So let me know what you think.
Josh, I thought we were supposed to keep it an odd number. No?
I think there's a benefit of potentially having an odd number is that if you get all board members coming to a meeting, you have the potential of having a vote be split even. Ty, I don't know, Craig, is there anything more to that? Having an odd number?
No, that's all there is to it. And when the vote is tied, it's not approved. That's a rejection.
So I think practically speaking, the chances, first of all, that every board member shows up to a meeting is that with 8 people is also kind of, not all that likely. And then I just think it's not likely. And I think there's enough value in having that extra person because, there is a lot of, as we go back to in person, there is going to be more of a travel demand. And that'll affect even just what attendance we have, and so we want to be kind of understanding of that. So that's where I'm at with it. Any other thoughts or concerns or questions?
I like the idea of filling the position.
We could always go with 9. And then we'd be odd and we'd add 2 people.
Yeah, I don't know. Craig, can you tell me if we open up for applications, are we limited? Do we need to specify at this point how many? Or can we open up and then potentially take more than one?
We could accept more as long as the bylaws permit. I don't have those right in front of me to remember if we've had any adjustment on the bylaws, but that would be our restriction.
Okay. Yeah, we could review that, and especially if we see some really qualified candidates expressing interest, then I wouldn't be opposed to even going as high as 9. Like I said, I don't think everybody is able to attend all the time anyway. So I think, divide and conquer. So my thought would be to open up the application process. I think even right away, even as soon as tomorrow. Post that, or Monday, whatever is feasible. Post that for 2 weeks. That'll give us a week to 10 days or so, and before the next board meeting, and we can actually potentially swear somebody in at the next board meeting. I don't know. Is that an issue that you see, or do you see any issue with that, Craig? The timeline on that?
No, there's no legal restriction on that.
Okay. All right, then if it sounds acceptable to everyone, I would just request a motion and then a second, and we'll vote.
Just trying to think how to phrase this. I move to fill the vacancy left by Erica on the board.
I second.
Thank you both. I'm Josh. I vote aye. Andrea?
Aye.
Dory?
Aye.
Brock?
Aye.
Talia?
Aye.
Dina?
Aye.
Okay, thank you all. That is approved. We'll go ahead and post the vacancy and look for hopefully being able to fill that vacancy at our next board meeting, or by our next board meeting. Okay, our next item, review, discussion, approval of the memorandum of understanding between Gorman Learning Center San Bernardino with California Partnership for Achieving Student Success, CalPAS Plus. Dr. Saunders, you be presenting there.
Yeah, so this is this ties into our grant. So Cal Plus Plus is an accountability system. It aligns and syncs with our CalPads information. And it's one of the requirements for the loan, the grant that we're applying for. Essentially, it's just saying that, you know, we're agreeing to the vision and the accountability that would be put forth in this K-12 SWP, which is strong workforce. And so they're just asking for us to fill out the CalPass Plus. In order to fill it out, we also have to have the MOU to agree to get on the system. It's a statewide system.
Are there any questions about this for Dr. Saunders?
I have a question, but it's very basic. Can you just explain what the strong workforce program, like what that means?
So this is what we're applying for is the K-12 Strong Workforce Program grant. The idea behind that is that they are looking, when you look at our region, you know, Inland Empire or Los Angeles County, when you look at that region, we're looking at labor market data and labor market needs. So what happens with the strong workforce is they're a consortium that looks at that and identifies a plan for priority and emerging sectors. And they identify those sectors based on the needs of the region. So that SWP component is the part that's saying we want to be able to build up a workforce, starting with our K-12 students who are able to come out of high school and earn a living wage. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for asking.
Gary, what dollar amount are you looking at right now?
Give me 1 second. I can look at the budget has been in flux. We're updating as we go, but let's see if I got the most recent numbers. So I think it's somewhere around a neighborhood of 250,000 per school that we're talking about. We're applying for both GLC and for SBSC. So it was recommended that we do it that way because when you apply, there are also particulars to the county, such as unemployment rates that factor in. So to have two grant applications in there could provide more opportunity so that, you know, instead of them saying maybe no to one for the whole district, you know, maybe they say no to one out of the two or yes to one out of the two. And if they were to do that, we could even appeal, you know. So that's kind of the strategy we're taking. So we're hoping if at that 2-to-1 is possibly get anywhere from 100 to 200,000 from the grant.
I have a question. So if we did only receive one, would we be able to use that over our entire Gorman charter, or would we only be able to use it in whatever county approves it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've asked the same question. So in terms of localizing, they want us to create partnerships locally with the communities and if there are businesses in the sector that we're looking at to create those partnerships. So in that sense, they would be looking for some accountability at the local level to like, for example, if we're partnering with a community college, it would need to be, and say it's the SBSC, you know, be Inland Empire Community College, that we might take some of our grant money and fund, like we were told today, we might be able to get an on-site counselor to support our students. Or it could be that some of the staff at that community college would be part of our curriculum and instruction development. So there, at the same time, when I asked the question, there did seem to be some gray area with being able to use that money for the entire district. So I wouldn't have particular numbers on like a percentage that we could use, but since this way, we have personnel that serves the whole district. You know, we have enrollment people that serve the whole district. So it's like you can't really, it's really hard to dichotomize those kind of things. So there are areas where it would still support the goals and our vision, which we also align to LCAP across both sites or both schools.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, if there are no other questions, then we'll go ahead and request a motion to approve this MOU.
I motion to approve. Oh, I'm sorry, Brock, did you have a question?
Yeah, I did. I'm sorry.
No,
ahead.
it's okay.
I just was formulating it, but
We can come back.
sorry about that, Gary. I mean, just real quick, what is our current budget? I'm just trying to look through our budgeting sheets from the last meeting. What is our current budget, if you know, or maybe Truth knows this, for the CTE program currently?
Well, I won't be able to know it top of my head, but I can try and get it before the meeting ends. I can ask one of my staff.
Yeah, I'm just thinking in terms of, you know, for 250,000 per school, what percentage of the total CTE budget that would be? I'm just, you know, trying to wrap my brain around this. So thanks, Truth.
Mhm.
And then Tamara's on, she's also part of the team. We have a great team who's putting this together. She reminded that it looks like we need, I guess we need to upload it twice, one for each charter. Is that, are you able to speak, Director Campbell?
Yeah, there should be an approval for each like a motion for each MOU separately and an approval on each. Yes. Since it's two separate LEAs and two separate applications, the MOUs have to be kept separate.
Let's see. So they're in here. They're both in here though, right? Both of the MOUs. There's two separate MOUs in here as far as I'm seeing.
Yeah, it's pretty boilerplate. All we do is we fill in the name of the school at the top. So it's the same except for the exchange of name of the charter school.
If you just word it like where you put both schools in your motion, that's fine too.
Yeah, I think the bigger concern was that actually both of them were listed in the board packet. That would be my concern, and it looks like they are. So they're both the specimens of both of the contracts are in there.
And thanks, Director Campbell, for doing that.
Okay, then if I could please request a motion for the approval of the MOU for both Gorman Learning Center and Gorman Learning San Bernardino, Santa Clarita with the CalPAS.
Are we waiting until Brock gets an answer, or
Oh.
is Brock okay?
No, Truth said that he's going to get that later in the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I motion to approve both. Can I just say that?
Yeah, that's fine. I said them, so you're repeating what I said.
I second.
All right, I'm Josh. I vote aye. Andrea,
Aye.
Dory,
Aye.
Brock,
Aye.
Talia,
Aye.
and Dina.
Aye.
Thank you. The MOUs for both schools are approved here. All right, the next item will be from Truth. That'll be review, discussion, and approval of resolution 2022-2023:1 to 7 to remove signers from these Wells Fargo accounts.
Thank you. So we do hold a number of accounts with Wells Fargo, and we have different signers. One of the signers that we had on there was a former director that's no longer with us, Mr. Adam Cornish. And so I'm just presenting this to the board to request that we, to recommend to the board to approve that we remove him from all the accounts that he was a signer on. I can mention them, the last four numbers, or as Kim is scrolling down, you can see which accounts we're referring to. And that's part one, Adam. And then also we have Carrie Kiza, our former RC supervisor, Resource Center supervisor at AVRC. She was a signer on the ASB account, and am recommending that the board approves that we remove it also from that account.
All right, this is pretty straightforward. I don't know, Craig, do we need to specifically list each of them verbally in the motion, or is the fact that they're presented in the packet, everybody understands what we're looking at here? Is that enough?
So you do need to identify at least the resolutions that you're approving.
Okay.
If it's all of them, then please specify.
Okay.
So the first one is account ending in 0060. And then the next one is account ending in 3230. And then the next one is account ending in 9583. And then the next one is account ending in 9002. And then another one ending in account 9237. And account ending in 4493. And account ending in 8715. That's the one where we'll be removing Carrie Kiza.
All right, so those are resolutions 2022, 2023, resolutions 1 to 7. If I could please have a motion on that.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Then we'll vote. I'm Josh. I vote aye. Andrea,
Aye.
Dory,
Aye.
Brock,
Aye.
Talia,
Aye.
and Dina.
Aye.
Thank you. Those resolutions are approved. The next item, as a corollary to that item, is the the approval of resolutions 2022, 2023, 8 through 15, which will be to replace the signers, I believe, on those same accounts.
Correct. So for account ending in 0060, I don't know, Mr. President, do you want me to mention the same numbers again for the accounts, or
I don't think you need to read them. That's fine. Maybe you can just explain who we're adding to those and why.
Okay. So we the board policy allows us to add one of the directors as a signer to our accounts. And so we are recommending that Olivia Duran, one of our directors, replace Adam Cornish as a signer to the aforementioned accounts. And then also Mark Rodriguez to replace Kerry Kiza for the one account, ASB account at AVRC, account ending in 8717.
All right, are there any questions about that? And if not, I could use a motion to approve resolutions 2022, 2023, number 8 through 15.
So moved.
Thank you. Can I have a second, please?
I second.
All right, then I'm Josh. I vote aye. Andrea,
Aye.
Dory,
Aye.
Brock,
Aye.
Talia,
Aye.
Dina.
Aye.
Thank you. The adding those signatures are approved. The resolutions 2022, 2023, 8 through 15. Next item, we have the presentation and discussion on special education. I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Stephen Alva, our Director of Special Education.
Hello, thank you, President Stigner. Thank you, everyone. It's my privilege today to give a sort of State of the Union special education address, which will be brief and will include a variety of members from our excellent team. So basically, the objective today in presenting is basically just to provide everyone a little insight about what our department does. We can't give a comprehensive overview because that would take all night, but at least give you a snippet as far as what we do and how we support the overall organization, Gorman, and our students, and as well as highlight quite a few of our success stories. We got a few, and again, I'd love to show them all, but again, if we did that, fortunately, that would take a very long time because we've been blessed with a lot of success. So with no further ado, Ms. Tamumbing, if you could put up that presentation for me, so I could review the agenda briefly as far as how we will go through this. And the next slide. Okay, so we'll start out with a couple of success stories from a couple of our case managers, one from the Redlands area and one from the Santa Clarita area. They are our case managers / resource specialist teachers. Next, we have one of our program specialists who will briefly review her role and what she does to support the program. And then we also have one of our inclusion specialists who also do the same. And then last but not least, we have the two CEOs from one of our vendors, Dynamic Therapy Solutions. Hello, Alicia and Lisa, thank you for being with us. And they will present what they do briefly, and of course, establish and show and present the success that they've had with our students as well. So with no further ado, we will begin with our first one, and that is Miss Dana Harris.
Thank you, Dr. Alva. So if you can put the next slide on. So I'm Dana Harris. I've been with Gorman for 3 years, and I'm here to share with you one of my student success stories. Do you want me to tell you to flip the next screen? Okay. So this is a 5th grade student who initially qualified for SPED services in January of 2021. Her formal test scores were all well below average, with reading being the most significant deficits. I started her in the Read Naturally Live program, which focuses on building fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. For her first reading, which was at the CVC level, she was able to read just 22 correct words per minute with 5 errors. The cold timing is the first time the student is exposed to the text, and the hot timing is after we practice and interact with it through answering questions about the story and just looking at the vocabulary. This graph shows the difference between her cold timing and hot timing. In her first month with this program, she was reading an average of just 32 correct words per minute on the cold timings. 10 months into the program, you can see where I highlighted, she has gone from reading 22 words per minute and 5 errors to an average of 60 words per minute and only 1 error. Her hot timing scores also climbed to an average of 86 words per minute with 0 errors. You can see by this graph that she's reading with 100% comprehension. I really wanted to incorporate writing with these short stories, so I started her off by having her tell me in her own words what the story was about. She dictated this to me in February 2021, just a month after she started her special education services. As you can see, she's using the sentence stems and her writing is very basic. By May, she was typing her own paragraph, summarizing the stories from Read Naturally Live without the use of sentence stems, just a prompt to remind her to start with a general statement about the story. By May, she was typing her own paragraph, summarizing the stories from Read Naturally Live without the use of sentence stems. Just a prompt to start with a general statement about the text. And she can even add a picture. So I am very proud of this student. She is a hard worker. She takes a lot of pride in her accomplishments. Thank you very much.
That's great. Thank you, Dana. And next from Redlands, we have, well, we did have Miss Eloisa Johnson, but unfortunately she had a personal emergency. So in her place, we have Mr. Jeffrey Boyle. And this is one of his students that he'll be sharing as well.
Hi, so my name is Mr. Boyle and I've been with Gorman. This will be my second year. This is one of my students and he was okay with us sharing his name. His name's Andre. He said, make me famous. So, you know, that's what we're gonna do. And so Andre came to us with some issues from his prior school. He was at a private school before and he's having a lot of difficulty with math and a lot of difficulties with behavior at home too that the parent was very concerned with. So we were able to get him a math tutor, and then he's been working on math with me as well. So he's able to go from, oh, go back. So on iReady, he was able to go from a 2nd grade level when he started out to a 7th grade level within a year, which is quite a bit of growth. I'm not sure if he was completely trying when he did the 2nd grade level assessment, but he definitely was not anywhere close to 5th or to 5th grade level or 4th grade level even. So he has made a ton of growth, and yeah, his mom is really happy with what we've done with the program. We found him an in-person counselor, which is something he had never had before. He was never able to talk to anyone before, so he's been able to open up and grow a lot personally. The family gives me random stuff, so they gave me a book, they gave me apples. So it's you know, it's really nice to have that sort of a connection with the family, and we have a little testimonial that I'd like to play for you if we have that video ready.
Just for clarification, the video is the one for Eloisa, correct?
Yes, that was the one.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so thankful for Gorman because my child has increased in math scores. I was sending him to a private school, and one day the teacher gave him an assignment and asked him to write a paper on how he felt about himself. And he drew a picture of himself holding a paper with a math grade on it. That was a poor grade, with other kids pointing at him and saying, "You're dumb." So I said, "That's it." And I snatched him out of that school. And I have him in Gorman now. And I'm so grateful for all the help he's getting and that he's doing so much better in all areas. Thank you.
And yeah, is interesting. Eloisa was looking for a student and he just happened to be in my office at the time. So, you know, that worked out really well. So that was it from us.
Thank you, Mr. Boyle. Next, we have our program specialist from the Redlands area, Miss Kristen Browning Patterson.
Hi, everybody. Kim, you can go ahead and put my slide on. It's really wordy, guys. I totally apologize. There it is. Okay. So first of all, Jeffrey, that's really great to hear about Andre. That's most important. And that's the kind of stuff that I think keeps us going. So that's really great. Secondly, hi, guys. My name is Kristen Browning Patterson. I'm a program specialist here for Redlands, but I'm really representing myself, Brianna and Argueta of Antelope Valley, and Janine Tufts, Santa Clarita. They're the program specialists there as well. So we all kind of got together, talked about what it is we do, and then I put it on a piece of paper for you guys to look at. So here we go. So really the program specialist coordinates the activities relating to the placement of pupils in the special ed programs assigned. The program specialist is a consultant to site and district staff and to parents in helping to implement the individual education plans for pupils as developed by our IEP teams. We work with a lot of people. We coordinate the program and service recommendations with stakeholders. We participate in development of IEPs and we facilitate when needed. We recommend additional resources for assessment when necessary. So we're working a lot with providers such as occupational therapists, physical therapists, ERMs, speech, IDTS, I see you there, all kinds of things like that. So we work very closely with all sorts of providers. We provide oversight and assistance to ensure effective programs and services. We participate in staff development, program development, and innovation of research-based methods and practices. I myself am a former moderate to severe teacher. So my forte, my favorite thing is moderate to severe students and how to best serve them. So a lot of times when I lead trainings for my staff, it's on moderate to severe trainings. We educational benefit for students receiving those services. We serve as a resource to the special education director, our psychologists, and other special ed support staff, general education classroom teachers, and parents regarding program function, teacher evaluation, and state and federal mandates regarding special education. I think we really like to think of ourselves as, you know, the right-hand women for Stephen. Whatever he needs, we do. So assistant special ed directors of sort, because we are really trying to run the special education areas that we are a part of. So we represent LEA in offering FAPE based on IEP recommendations regarding placement, program, and services. So when we are in an IEP meeting, we are the administrators in the meeting and we are making that offer of FAPE to the family. We build consensus among our IEP team. We provide research-based staff development opportunities, including planning and coordination of regular staff meetings. Transition programs. Right now, I know in Redlands, we're trying to grow our special education transition program. We advocate for students with special needs and their families. Absolutely. Address concerns from students, parents, and staff, and maintain statistical data, facilitate program projections, and make recommendations regarding staffing assignments. We figure out what students need to be on whatever teacher's roster, whatever provider, and we facilitate the development of positive relationships with students, parents, and school personnel. But our biggest job is helping our teachers serve our students and their families the best that we can. And I think at the end of the day, when you walk away from your job, and I think if you've done that, then it's mission accomplished. Kim, I believe you're up.
Thank you, Kristen. Next, we have our inclusion specialist teacher from the Santa Clarita area, Miss Kim Sullivan.
Hi, everyone. I am Kim Sullivan, and I am the inclusion specialist for our Santa Clarita area. I am also representing my two counterparts. We have Carly Fonda that assists out in the Antelope Valley area, and then Kimmy Cavallo helps to support the Redlands area. So just like Kristen, I put all of my items up here, and it is a bit wordy, but unfortunately we tried to condense some more, but we felt it was really important that that we share all of these things with you. As inclusion specialists, we are often the first contact that our incoming SPED families will have with the special education department. This year, we created an orientation video for our new families, letting them know how our program works since we are different than brick and mortars. After that, we have initial meetings with the families and the students where the inclusion specialists will collect initial data on the students' current academic performance levels. We then take that information and we'll collaborate with the parents and the PLTs to find the best curriculum for the student based on their individual learning styles and really the impact that their disability is having on their education. We also ensure that our students have appropriate accommodations and modifications to their curriculum with their lessons and learning environments, both in the home setting and at the resource center. So we are supporting parents as they're instructing their students at home. We support our facilitators as they're providing instruction to our students in their workshops. And we're also available where we can create alternative assessments and assignments as needed to meet those the needs of our students to go along with their personalized learning plans. Our big role, we really are the bridge between general ed and special ed. And we spend a lot of our time supporting our PLTs. We will attend their LP meetings if they would like us to, or their enrollment meeting, just to make sure that we can help them to really clarify and set high expectations for their students. We act as CAS testing coordinators for the SPED students in our different areas. We really spend a lot of our time focusing on supporting the parents, supporting the PLTs, and providing educational components for them so that we can better support our students. This year we'll be launching our SPED parent seminars. We'll be focusing on high school and really helping to get our SPED students some great information in their families so that they can take it to the next level. We also can provide strategies in the home setting and at the resource center. I'm sorry, I believe I already said that. But to make sure that they're really progressing with their academic program. We don't want them to be stagnant. We always want to see that growth. So we'll come alongside the PLTs and the parents and make sure that's happening. We spend a lot of our time working very closely with Tamara Campbell. And we do all of the input of accommodations for state testing for our SPED students. And we go back and check and double check and make sure everything's accurate so that they have those accommodations that they need to have their best performance on those exams. We also assist with problem-solving strategies for PLTs, facilitators. As I was meeting with my team, talking about what we really wanted the board to know, one of the things was, let them know that sometimes we're therapists. We listen, we support, we spend a good deal of our time problem solving and figuring out different ways to handle different situations, because with our job, no day is the same. We have different students with different needs, and even if they're similar, we can approach a situation with one student and have to come at it a different way with another. So we're definitely out of the box thinkers. and we try to be very proactive. We also provide a lot of training and support for at the resource centers for how to implement accommodations in the workshop setting. I actually, when I first started with Gorman, I started at the SCRC, so I'm blessed to be able to spend time back there with my initial Gorman family, and we've come a long way in terms of I feel in terms of the relationships with the SPED department and our PLTs and our facilitators, and it's just turned into a really great collaboration for benefit of the students. Another area that we focus on, we've developed and implemented a certificate of completion program for our moderate and severe high school students. As Kristen mentioned, she is a former mod severe teacher. And so we partner a lot, the inclusion specialists with our program specialists, to make sure that our students are getting exactly what they need. And most importantly, we really promote a culture of high expectations for academic excellence. We never, ever want our students to feel that because they have an IEP, because they're in special ed, they can't accomplish everything that they want to. We really want them to know and encourage them to just shoot for the stars. I've seen a lot of growth. I've seen a lot of excitement recently about SPED students looking into college after our program. And I'm just so happy to see where our program is going.
Thank you, Ms. Sullivan. And last but not least, we have the CEOs, Ms. Alicia and Ms. Lisa from Dynamic Therapy Solutions, and they will share all the great things they're doing as well to help us support our students.
Hello, everyone. Let me just make sure you can see my screen. And 1 second here. Okay, can everybody see that okay? Perfect. So we are Dynamic Therapy Solutions. My name is Alicia Noterman. I am an assistive technology specialist and AAC specialist, the CEO and co-owner of Dynamic Therapy Solutions. This is my business partner.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lisa Sandoval. I am a speech language pathologist and a dyslexia practitioner, and also co-owner of Dynamic Therapy Solutions.
Lisa and I have owned Dynamic Therapy Solutions for 21 years now, and we partner with, well, I would say we don't partner with, we contract with about 27 different school districts, some willingly, some not. And Gorman is our absolute favorite to partner with. So some of the services that we provide to Gorman, speech and language, therapy and evaluations, Wilson Reading Program, Lisa will tell you a little bit more about that, IEPs and evaluations. I did want to mention that this might be something for Brock, is that we recently received a grant, I think it's called the COVID Progression Program, and for at-risk students here in Palmdale, California. And what that allows us to do is we have $50,000 that we will be getting probably next month to provide free services, not speech and language, but free reading services to Palmdale residents. So that's something that your Palmdale students could benefit from, and something that could save Gorman some funds. Also that we're open to partnering with Gorman to write grants for reading. And also I'll have Lisa tell you a little bit about the program that we've partnered with some of the schools for the medical academies.
So we currently have students that come over from Palmdale High School, which is right next to us. And these students have a medical academy. And so they are seeking placement their junior and senior year with different businesses to gain experience. And so We just started this last year because obviously we had COVID. And so this year we will have 4 high school students that will be getting both the administrative and clinical experience throughout the entire year. So it's an exciting program.
We'd love to offer that to Gorman students in the Antelope Valley or Chatsworth area as well. Back to our services.
Another area that we specialize in is AAC, also known as Augmentative Alternative Communication. So if you think of Stephen Hawking, that's what a lot of people think of with using some kind of high-tech system. We do offer that for students who are either non-speaking or minimally speaking. And we're actually going to be showing one of your students in a second who uses an iPad with communication software to communicate. He's rocking it. We also specialize in assistive technology, and that is looking at students who maybe have difficulty in the areas of reading or math or writing, and they require assistive technology. It might be a keyboard, it might be a software that will help them to access their academic curriculum.
Awesome. And we've also provided training to your staff to help them utilize assistive technology that's already on Chromebooks and things that are accessible and free. So back to assistive technology, we really wanted JJ to be able to be here with us today to present, but these are old videos and an old picture, but he uses multimodalities to communicate. And what that means is he uses gestures, he has some verbal speech, but he also has some rote speech. So it's not always controllable for him for what he truly wants to say. He's typing a lot more, reading a lot more, and using his AAC system. This is an old video of JJ when we first started.
I want to go on a drive.
I want to drive.
Oh, well then type it in there. Then go to, you can finish it and go into typing. I want to go on a drive.
You like to go for car rides? Okay, make it
There
talk.
you go. Let's hear the sentence.
Drive.
Oh,
I want to go on. Drive.
So you can see here, he's independently working with one of our assistive technology AAC specialists. And that was in the very beginning. You'd be amazed at what he can do now. We just recently started a program called Project Build a Door, where we are taking students who use AAC and teaching them, we're coaching them on how to start their own business. And one of our students that we started with 2 months ago, he published his first book on Amazon. He's an Amazon bestseller 2 times. We also have somebody who has starting his own podcast, and all of them have presented for our international conference and made $250 for presenting. So that's something that we really see Gorman students also benefiting from in the future as well. Okay, let's talk about Dr. Stephen Alva. He did not pay us to put this slide together. We just wanted to say how grateful we are to be able to work with somebody who is truly for the students. He is just a joy to work with. We've had, even when there's some challenges, maybe some miscommunication, the first thing he does, he's an open book, and we're both very transparent. We get on a Zoom and we solve the problem together. He truly believes to focus 5% on the challenge and 95% of your energy on the solution. So, and our EA did make this slide. So apparently he handles challenges like a boss. So thank you, Dr. Alva, for being awesome.
And so we just wanted to talk 1 second about services. So about 2 years ago, we had met with Dr. Stephen Alva about a few students that Gorman was concerned about that had a lot of difficulty with reading. And so we took about 5 or 6 students, and we've offered free services to those students for the past 2 years and tracked their progress. They have made significant progress. I think when we looked at it, it's about over $50,000 that we've donated in free services to Gorman. We felt that strongly about it because we really wanted Dr. Alva to see that this particular multi-sensory based reading program, the Wilson Reading Program, really is something that kind of will set Gorman apart from a lot of schools, because we know that reading is a really big issue in our nation right now. So anyway, because of that, Dr. Alva did invest in the Wilson Reading Program, and I have the pleasure of working every week with the resource teachers and training and mentoring and just being a resource. And Dana, I'm glad Dana's on here, because the next student that we're going to show, with permission, is Miss Emmeline Catafin's mother, speaking about Emmeline. But when we first worked with Emmeline, she was a non-reader, and she's a 5th grader this year, and she's come very, very far. And it really is a combination of not just DTS, but also Gorman staff working with her and the parent working with her. So it's been really exciting to see this all coming together.
The video was about 6 minutes, so we've pared it down to just a little snippet.
She progressed. She's actually starting to read simple sentences very well, and she's definitely on the road to actually becoming a reader one day. I've had nothing but good things to say about Dynamic Therapy Solutions. They have been really wonderful in providing help. Almost all the tutors have been really great for Emmeline, and they've all worked really hard and were very professional in dealing with her. And I don't know where I would be without having this resource. I think we would have been much further behind than we already are if they've actually helped us to really progress. Thank you for your time, and I hope you continue this program and expand it for so many kids like Emmeline who really need that extra one-on-one help. Thank you. Goodbye. Actually progress.
And so that is pretty much it. You know, we are now helping out with some of the transitional IEPs. We've provided 144 IEPs to date for this year. We are also working on a program for one student, which has kind of an individualized program. We did our first service yesterday, and it went really, really well. Parent was really happy, and I know this was one that, you know, the parent hadn't, you know, we hadn't had a signature yet on the IEP, and now things are going really well for that student. So we are just grateful to be able to partner with such an amazing school, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So that concludes our presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got some insight as far as what we do and how we support our students. And most of all, I hope you've seen that we are really blessed with a really great team. I mean, they're really passionate, they're dynamic, they're creative, they're brilliant. And it is such a privilege to work with such educators. And it especially warms my heart because the ones that benefit are our students. The ones that grow are our students. As you know, they're our most vulnerable, and it's just great to see our most vulnerable thrive and be able to grow and to achieve. And I mean, that's why we do what we do. So thank you for allowing us to share. Thank you for everyone that participated in this, and keep up the great work. Thank you. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
So is GATE a part of SPED?
Yes and no. And let me tell you why. From a purely technical legal standpoint, yes, GATE has been a part of SPED. As a matter of fact, there was a time where IEPs were written for GATE students. But however, that's transitioned, and that's not the usual practice anymore. Over time, it's usually separated. And now what happens is, SPED are just for those struggling students. And there's usually an independent GATE program that takes care of that.
And what a percentage, do we have the numbers, like what percentage of our students fall under the SPED program?
Currently, we have 343 students. So that's over, I would say, maybe that's about 13% of our overall population, which is a little bit above average.
So do we have a GATE program? I'm not familiar if we do.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Saunders, but I believe that's one of his pet projects. That's more his expertise and his background. So that's something he's definitely passionate about. And we've talked about some of those things and he has some great ideas. So yeah, as far as I know, I believe that's in the works. Is that correct, Dr. Saunders?
That is something that I've already started moving forward on. I've met with a few of our people to first ascertain what's already in place. And I've also communicated, Director Campbell has helped with setting up parent workshops. So I believe we're going to include gifted education in some of those workshops. The kind of the first order of business is determining how we as an organization identify those students, because in order to provide services, just like with special ed, they need to be identified. So we are also, one thing I didn't say earlier is we have nominations finalizing this week for the advisory council. So part of my hope is that in the advisory council, we have committees or teams that look at different aspects of Gorman. And one of those I want to put together is the gifted and talented committee to be able to, work, to collaborate, work as a team, make decisions, decisions based on people's input and the voice from all of our educational partners. So I'm hoping by the end of the year, we have an actual program that we can codify.
That all sounds really great. And I want to thank all the presenters because I can tell from your presentation just how passionate you are about the students. And this is just so in line with what I think of our vision of helping the students where they're at. And I really appreciate all your hard work.
Thank you.
I have a question. I would like to know how many are a part of the SPED staff. How many people do you have on staff?
Gorman staff, or just Gorman staff, or are you including all our service providers as well, or vendors?
Gorman staff.
Gorman staff, I believe it's 22.
And that's spread throughout
the 3 areas.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. And you also, well, actually, I think Kim mentioned that the college that you guys were seeing an increase in SPED students that had questions about college or desires to go to college. Do you guys have a plan, to get these kids across that threshold? I know some of the public high schools have the AVID program, and things like that kind of help connect students to the schools that may be right for them, et cetera, et cetera. Do we have anything like that that's helping them transition?
Well, yeah, right now that's in the works. That's a big emphasis this year. It's one of our primary objectives under our vision and mission. Our goal, and even though it's lofty, but we like to shoot big, for our mild to moderate students, we envision one day that 80% of them will either graduate or have the ability to graduate from a college, whether it be a 4-year or community college. That's our goal, that's our vision, and that's one area of emphasis that we focused on this year.
Is that why you chose to in your parents' seminar, which is fantastic. I'm so happy that you guys are able to provide that to your students and your parents. Is that why you guys chose to focus on the high school, or was that a need that was asked?
No, well, we're focusing because we have to do it in stages, because honestly, we can't do, everything all at once, all at the same time yesterday, although I'd like to, I would love to, but we're doing it, breaking up in phases. So we're starting with the high school because they're the closest to college. So that's the greatest need. So it just made sense to us, but eventually we'll be rolling that out to middle school and elementary as well.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Oh, Brock is on. I think Brock has a question.
Yeah, Brock, you there? There you are.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to thank you all for your presentation. So the been in education for a long time, and sometimes it's difficult to connect all the dots. You know, the inclusion specialist, the program specialist. I've got a request of you, Dr. Alva, if you could. I know that you probably have some type of a flow chart that you present to parents and show them kind of the step by step. This is where your child will be going and who they're going to be seeing, and university inclusion.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Okay. But something like that, I think, would be helpful for the board members to be able to see. And I know that you answered the question about how many Gorman staff, how many total staff? I know you probably have quite a number of part-timers.
Oh, no, we don't have any part-timers. They're all full-time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Gorman staff, and then on top of that, you have contracted.
Yes.
Kind of like these two ladies here with Dynamic Therapy Solutions.
Correct.
Okay. So how many, I don't know how you can quantify that as far as, you know, individuals or numbers, or how many contracted student servers do you have?
Oh, wow. Gosh, I would have to guess. It's got to be in the 60s, I would guess. That's about a rough estimate. Yeah.
And I think just a logical question for most people is why do we need contracted services if we have 22 in-house staff?
That's a good question.
Explain that, yeah.
Well, of the 22 staff, so special education, you need very specific license, very specific training credentials to be able to provide services. So it'd be, you know, in a more financially, you know, ideal world as far as SPED, it'd be nice if our case manager, RSP teachers could also provide speech, OT, you know, those type of things. So our RSP teachers can only provide, or only licensed credentials to provide what's called specialized academic instruction. So that's reading, writing, mathematics, and some vocational stuff. Now, when we go beyond that and our students need speech services or occupational therapy services or assistive technology services, that requires people with another set of specific training. And one reason why we rely and we're grateful to DTS is because of all the disciplines, that's probably one of the biggest struggles to get our speech pathologists. Because number one, the speech pathology program is, to my knowledge, the hardest program in all of SPED, because they get trained not only for the academic side, but also the clinical side. So they can also service students in a medical setting as well. And so when we attempted, there was a time where we attempted to hire our own, but for whatever reasons, they're just, because of the rigor and because of the demand and because of the growth of students needing that type of service, it was a real challenge. And when we flew the position, we didn't even get any applicants. That's how much of a struggle it is. So that's why we need providers such as DTS and others that we rely on for occupational therapy services, for counseling, which is known as ERMS or ERICS, because they need very specialized training and credentialing to be able to legally provide that per the IEP and per state and federal regulations.
No, I appreciate that. I mean, this is the venue where when you make this great presentation, for us to be able to ask questions so that all of our stakeholders can hear what it's all about. And so for us board members to ask these kind of questions, and I've been in education long enough to know that not every story is a success story. And so, just quite honestly, what could you explain? What are the characteristics or habits of students in SPED who've not been successful with SPED services?
That's a great question.
And maybe contrast that with the characteristics and habits of those that are successful.
Well, really, to me, what stands out as far as the biggest common denominator between success and non-success is the cooperation of the team. Our most successful students have the collaboration of not only us, but also parent involvement. So everybody is involved in doing their job. That's where you get the most success. That's why we're so passionate about these parent seminars and doing what we can to get parents involved in working with our model. Because often many of them, those that are not successful, make the mistake of thinking that's kind of like the brick and mortar. They can just send their kid to the service and then we'll service them and that's that. And even with that, we'll experience success, but it's nowhere near to the level that we envision that we want when everybody's on the same page, when providers, PLTs, ISTs, the speech providers, when everybody's on the same page, working collaboratively as a cohesive unit, that's really the biggest determining factor between the success or lack thereof of our students.
Okay. And I know too that sometimes teacher in-servicing or teacher training to support students that are SPED students is just check off the box. We provided them with training. But in a perfect world, what would you like to see happen, or what would you need in order for the PLTs to be better equipped, better trained, better equipped to be able to support their students? Because I know they've got such an incredible job, K through 12, every subject, every type of student, and now they've got SPED students as well that they have to support. So in a perfect world, what type of training would you like to see them be provided with?
But really, it comes down to, when I think about that, is for starters, I want them to remember one phrase: no fear. I don't want them to fear special ed, fear the students, fear all the legalities that go with it, and feel comfortable coming to us for support. We're a team. We're not about dinging anybody. We're about supporting not only our students, but our teachers, so that way they can better support their families. That has, I believe, a lot of that has diminished, but there's still some of that there. And that kind of holds you back from doing the job that you can really do and really take it to the next level, because you shouldn't be afraid. These students are not to be afraid of. I know some of these parents can get a little, feisty at times, but even with that, there just have to be to fear. There's nothing to fear. And we have their back, and we're not going to throw anybody on the bus, and we're going to support. And if anything, honestly, I tell this to my team all the time, if anything goes wrong, I'm the bad guy. If it hits the fan, I'll be the fan. No worries. So that's really number one. And number two, whatever they can do, because it's, in my experience, our PLTs have the strongest bond and buy-in with parents. So whatever they can do to persuade their parents to work with their children on a more consistent basis, and even reach out to us, because we're part of our parent seminars, we'll be giving more direct training on how to work with their children, but to reach out to us as well for anything and everything in regards to ideas, resources, whatever they need. If PLTs just do that, if they just do that, you'll really see these students go to the next level. I mean, the results will be miraculous. So that's really what it is. Because we have great PLTs that are already trained as it is. We provide workshops, and let's be honest, you can only go through so many PDs before you're all PD'd out. So it's really just a matter of just not having that fear, and whatever they can do to persuade the parents to be consistent. And honestly, it doesn't even have to be all day, every day. If parents work with their kids at least 2 to 3 hours consistently, Monday through Friday, that would pay huge dividends. So that's really what our PLTs can do. Yeah.
Okay. Lastly, a real short question here. How important is it that you have the right people manning your staff?
Oh, it's huge. It makes all the difference. That's one thing Gorman has been blessed with, and I want to keep that trend going, is no lawsuits. The SPED department has not been sued, not even mediation, and we're not sending our students to other schools and paying for that because they're so satisfied with the work that's going on. So that's why it's so important to have the right people doing the right job at the right time, because a lot of those things are avoided and eliminated. And we could spend our time, our focus, and truthful like this one, especially our money, on our program and on our students. So that's why it's so important. And it protects the school. Because the last thing any of us want to go through is the drama of any kind of due process, any kind of lawsuit. Because honestly, the only ones that win are the lawyers. They get nice and rich. No offense, Greg, but those are the only ones that win. Honestly, we don't win. The schools don't win. We spend a lot of money and a lot of time, and that money, right? And that money, that time is better served on our students.
Yep, excellent. And that's one of my biggest concerns, is making sure that our money is effectively and efficiently used.
Yes, and I appreciate that, Brock.
Yeah, thank you very much.
That's our goal. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have a follow-up question.
Sure.
So, I guess I misunderstood. So the dynamic therapy solutions, right? They are a partner, not.
Yeah, they're partners. They're vendors. That's the more familiar term, vendors or contractor.
So wait, no, because are they a vendor or are they a contract? Like how, like are our students getting funds and taking those funds, or are is Gorman paying, you know what I mean? And they're paying our students. That's what I'm trying to.
Oh, okay. No, they're contractors. So the money to pay for their services doesn't come out of educational units. That comes out of the special education budget.
And we have 60 of those?
No, that's not including just them. We also have occupational therapists, assistive technology specialists, behavioral specialists, specialists, BCBA specialists. I'm probably missing a couple. Or APE specialists. Yeah.
Adaptive PE.
Adaptive PE specialists. Yeah.
So do you have a list of those?
Who we contract with or the providers?
Yeah, because I would love to see a list if that's okay. Like,
Oh yeah, that's no problem. We do have a list.
Because I love what Dynamic Therapy Solution. I love their presentation, and I noticed that you guys put in the chat that you have an employee that works with gifted students, which means that you guys would be able to accommodate us when we have a GATE program, correct?
So we do work with gifted students. However, what I was saying is one of our employees just moved her actual child and enrolled them in Gorman. So one of our employees' kid, and he's gifted. So you now have a gifted kid.
Oh, got you. Okay. And so since I have you ladies here, could you just give me like a really quick list of what you guys cover as far as first sped services?
Yeah, sure. For you guys, we do speech and language, evaluations, therapy, training, IEPs, and case management. We also provide now transitional IEPs for the students that are speech only. So they don't have any other services, just speech. We also provide assistive technology. So there's two types of assistive technology. One is for students who are non-speaking, like autism or cerebral palsy.
Yes.
And then the other assistive technology is for learning disabilities, ADHD, dyslexia, dysgraphia, physically can't write, those severe anxiety. So we provide assistive technology. And then we do have a behaviorist. So we don't provide behavioral services to anybody but Gorman. That's not really something our specialty, but we do specialize in behavioral services for the non-speaking. So somebody who has a severe communication disorder and have behaviors, then we will help support. We did provide vision, but we referred you guys to a company to where they would provide the vision services. And it's also not something that we do. We just did it for Gorman because there was a huge need. And
vision would cover like what?
Yeah, so like low
Braille?
vision. Yeah, so Braille and low vision students. So somebody who maybe had a brain injury or a stroke, but they could see, but they need large print books and assistive technology. Yeah, and they're the best. The company that you're using, they're really, really good. And then hopefully we can find an OT. So we're a graduate student program as well. And so we are hoping to start taking on occupational therapists next May and we have a partnership with, what's the university? Midwestern, yeah. And so we'll get grad students from there for occupational therapy.
Wow, you guys got a lot going on. Good for you guys. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Right. Were there any other comments or questions? Board members? I'll just kind of wrap this item up then by saying thank you, Dr. Alva, and your team for the work you guys do. Really just serving our students. It's great to see those success stories. I know as Brock said, there's also the not as successful stories, but it's awesome to see. And I just think, thank you for even putting this together and taking the time to show us those. As board members, I think sometimes we kind of lack the connection between the business side of what we do and kind of running, or governing in the organization and what the impact is to our students. And so it's just nice to be able to see that and connect it. So thank you for all of that. I really appreciate you guys. and coming out here tonight. So we'll look for more of these kind of presentations and the opportunities we have to just be part of that and connect with the programs like that in the future. We'll take them.
Great.
All right, then we'll move on now to our final item. Bye, guys. Our final item would be the presentation and update on safety, and Kimberly Tumembing, as well as Melissa Wilson, will be presenting on that.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah.
We're excited this evening to get to talk to you about some safety. We'll do a little update. And mine's not quite as interactive as Dr. Alva's there. So great job, SPED team. But we do have some great talking points for you. And we're excited to have this opportunity. So thank you for allowing us. First off, I wanted to talk a little bit about our safety team. Some of our newer board members may not be aware, but I am the safety co-captain here at Gorman. Normally it's me and Dawn Dickinson doing these presentations, but I will get to my friend who has agreed to be on our team now in just a moment. We had safety teams in the past. Dawn was running them. They were largely on site only. There was no real network-wide safety team or anything going on. And so about five years now ago, about 5 years ago now, I asked if we could create a unified safety team, make sure that everyone had supplies, budgeting, and things like that, and kind of really bring a cohesive moment. It also allowed Dawn to be able to focus more on the maintenance and managing of locations, while I did the paperwork and compliance for the state level, which was required and is required on an annual basis. And if you've been on the board for more than a year now, you've approved a couple of my documents, which require annual updating and approval from the board members so that I can submit it to the state for compliance, as well as having it on hand for procedural reasons. So thank you for always approving those. I really appreciate it. And that's where we're at now. So our safety team for GLCN is comprised of our 4 location teams and 3 co-captains at network level now. And this year's network level co-captains are myself, Dawn Dickinson, and I'm so excited to welcome Melissa Williams to the team. She brings some experience in various situations and some great new fresh eyeballs on our documents, some great thoughts. She's a parent herself, so she's been able to help us get some feedback from that perspective as well, kind of immediately and on site. And kind of be like, well, we should say, let's do this, because then it'll be a little better on parents. And we really appreciate that perspective and having it available now so quickly. She also is fantastic at assisting all of our site locations. So we do have, I should tell you, our locations count as the warehouse, the business office / Redlands Resource Center, the Santa Clarita Resource Center, and the Antelope Valley Resource Center. So each of those has a team. The warehouse's team is more of one person, but he's still part of the team and we love it. And so each of them has a team, each of them has their documents, they have their procedures, their protocols that accommodate all of their scenarios. And then we maintain a budget here at network wide, as well as state compliance, so that each team is not individually trying to make sure that they have all of the compliance level things they need, all of the mandatory walkthroughs. We maintain equipment and software for them, as well as regulating their inventory so that they can constantly be stocked and take care of things for emergencies. So new to the team this year are going to be several members from the Redlands business office who are so excited, have decided they would really like to be a part of the team. They've requested training to better serve our students and our staff at the Redlands location. So in previous years, most of our safety team was comprised of facilitators upstairs who were trained in various trainings, CPR, AED, triage, etc. And this year, we are so excited. Several of the staff members have requested training, and we are happy to be granting it to them so that they can be a part of the team and really step in should any emergencies arise at this location. But also at other locations, should we need extra hands to drive anywhere or run to an on-site situation or something, we know that they would be available, and we're very excited for that. So if you're new to the board, we use a software system called Raptor. If you're going to Google it, look for Raptor Technologies. because you can find some very interesting things under Raptor. So don't just do that. But we're very excited. Raptor is our emergency use app that we have. It's also our visitor check-in system. So at each of our physical locations, other than the warehouse, we have frequent visitors. Those can be vendors, they can be adults who are coming in to either assist in a classroom, volunteer. They might be there for services, or it could be that they're checking in to drop off their students' lunch or something like that. So we use the Raptor visitor check-in system. Sometimes we even get former students who like to come back and talk to the classes and the workshops and let them know what it's like to be graduated and in college. And so they would all check in and out through our visitor system. We also have resource centers that use the visitor system to check their students in and out. If you are a high school level student who has clearance to leave campus on your own because you drive a vehicle of some sort, you would check in and out through the Raptor system so that we have record of you being on campus and then exiting campus. So that's a wonderful feature as well. It also has an emergency app, which we're very excited about this year, that they launched an expansion and an update to the app. The large update this year really changed the way the app works. We're very excited now to have these very large emergency buttons on the screen that when you push them, sends this god-awful, horrible noise throughout everyone's cell phone. But what's wonderful about that is on our larger campuses like SCRC and AVRC, if we have someone out in a field or on a basketball court and they notice that there is an intruder or a fire in the science lab or anything going on, they can actually hit these emergency buttons, which notifies the entire campus and allows the safety team to jump into action and mobilize an evacuation or something like that. So the emergency buttons actually give great assurance to our facilitators and campus monitors that anytime they're out, no matter where they are, they don't have to try to have a walkie or an accessible phone or PA system nearby. Literally, their cell phone works this way. We're also very excited that we discovered this app will work on an iPad. And we have partnered with our amazing IT departments to get iPads into the hands of all facilitators in their classrooms so that they can have the emergency app set into kiosk mode, which makes it more easily accessible should an emergency arise. What's also great about the app is that they have what's called a team assist. A team assist goes only to safety team members and lets them know, let's just say for a scenario that there's a fight on campus, God forbid it happened. There's a fight on campus and a teacher needs help. They're the only one standing there. They can hit the team assist button on their kiosk mode iPad, call for assistance, campus monitors, safety team members who are available, resource center supervisors, and if you happen to be in Redlands, any of us business office associates who are trained and on the app can respond to assist with that scenario. It also, team assist is great for if a student trips and falls and has some kind of cut or bone or bleeding or something. It makes it so that emergency personnel don't have to try to respond. We can actually, or you don't have to call or yell or holler or try to have a walkie on you. We can all easily respond because it's going to notify us through our phones that assistance is needed. So it's really cool. I could talk about the app all day. I'm going to stop myself. And if you ever want to see it, just let me know. I'd be happy to meet with you and show you the app. It's fantastic. The Raptor reunification feature has also been turned on this year, which is great for us. And all of our resource centers are being trained on it. If you're not familiar with reunification, it is what occurs should any kind of extreme emergency happen, which requires students to either evacuate from the campus or leave the campus for any reason. So let's say probably the easiest scenario is earthquake occurs, gas main line breaks, we have gas flooding a building somewhere, and we're concerned about fire, explosion, or something. We can evacuate students to a secondary location, begin a reunification process through the Raptor app with parents. So we're excited. Staff have started training on that. And the hope is somewhere in the next year that we would run a large disaster drill and hopefully get some parents and students to volunteer to be a part of this, where we can actually evacuate students to a secondary location during this disaster drill and have parents reunify with them so that our staff can run all the way through with students to see what it looks like. Again, we hope we never need to use it, but having the tools in place is the biggest part of prevention that we can possibly have. Also, we use a software called Verkada. Perhaps you are familiar with it. I hope you are. If you've ever visited one of our sites, you've seen one of our signs that says you're being recorded and monitored, and you are. We're excited to have access to the Verkada software and cameras that are available to us. We had a few on every location. We've been kind of purchasing them slowly over the years. And I thank you for all of those approvals that the board has given us over the years to purchase those cameras. We've gone slowly and continue to add. This year we added even more, which we're very excited about, giving many of our campuses coverage that is just really needed, especially as we continue to go through times where we're experiencing transient communities that are moving closer and around our facilities. It's easier to monitor when we have some camera coverage and can only have so many personnel walking the perimeter at a time. So thank you for that. We've also got a pilot program going right now with the Santa Clarita location. They're piloting for us a limited door access right now through Verkada. And this is an electronic door access that you may or may not have seen in use at other places. Essentially, the front door is locked at all times. It can be unlocked by certain employees within the building who can monitor a camera and see who's coming up to the front door. It can also be unlocked by employees who have a passcode digitally now, actually, on their phones, which I think is fantastic. You don't have to worry about a key card or anything like that you could accidentally lose, drop, misplace, leave somewhere. But instead, it's right on your phone through a Bluetooth, allows it to connect, and you're good to go. And they can just enter and exit through the door. So they're about 4 weeks into that trial for us, and we'll see how it turns out, whether or not this is something we'll be getting at the front doors of the other resource centers, or if it's not working so great. But so far, we've discovered that you can set different parameters for the door. So if we have a time when many students are arriving, they leave it unlocked for about 10-15 minutes in a row so that students can just rush right through the door, come on in for their workshops, or depart through the door for their workshops, and then it goes back to being locked in between so that we can monitor who is and who's not approaching the campus at any time. We also this year have been doing something that we were really excited about. Parent Square allows for a mass alert messaging system. They actually allowed for it last year, but we weren't so sure what we were doing last year. So we kind of fiddled through creating some scripts and putting some things in. Some of you had some power outages and may have received our mass alert for power outage. This year, we have a big campaign we've been working on to refine those scripts. They're a little bit easier to understand. They give a little bit more detail. The mass alert system is now it'll do text messages and phone calls to parents as well as emails alerts, making sure that there's always a way for them to know what's going on and what might be occurring on a campus and what the next steps are, where to pick my child up, whether I don't need to pick my child up, things like that. So we're working on getting those scripts finalized, getting them saved between all 3 resource centers so that they can be utilized at the drop of a hat. What's nice is that the mass alert is also available through their app. Again, the app is loaded onto these iPads that IT is working with us on so that it can be easily sent out, even if you have to evacuate a building. So in the middle of a fire, you have to run out, doesn't matter, mobile device can take care of it. So we can still manage our system, still take care of our students, and still know what's going on. And I'm super excited to not have to talk anymore. Melissa is going to tell you about the amazing ideas that she has had and will be implementing this year.
Thanks. AVRC, SCRC, and the RRC have participated in real life scenario training along with emergency triage training. Practicing scenarios helps with the reaction times and less shock in an event that we had a type of emergency. You know, the more practice, the more you're going to know how to quickly handle a situation and not know how to handle it. The Rutland's Business Office is having a basic CPR training class done October 25th. With more employees involved in knowing the basic CPR, every individual can help in emergency situations. So the more people train, the more people we have, in a crisis situation. And, there's, and that's really important. The more hands we have, is great. The more employees we have trained in CPR, AED, triage, and the more hands, again, available to assist during an emergency. Sorry, I kind of repeated myself, but yes, you get it. It's very important that a lot of people are trained, and like I said, because the more hands we have, the more, hopefully we can,
save and protect.
Yes, save and protect. I want to say saving lives, but save and protect. Yes.
very excited about this. Melissa has done a great job heading this up and making sure that everyone gets their training, everyone's on track for their training. They're all on track to be compliant and taking care of things. And the scenario training this year has been everybody's favorite part. I can't tell you all the details because there's just too much to tell, but I will tell you there's ketchup involved and fake blood and a test on whether or not you're responding properly with the appropriate PPE, protective preventative equipment. So it's a hilarious sight to behold, but at the same time, everyone comes out the other end saying how grateful they are to have had that, because they know their fight or flight tactics now. They know exactly what kind of person they are, how they're going to react to these scenarios. So I think perhaps it's some of the best money we've spent in safety, and
Most
I'm so
definitely.
glad to have her heading that up. So new and exciting things in 22-23 for you all. We are going to be having our training for off-site evacuations, which is definitely coming. We're using the Raptor emergency alert system. We're preparing all of our locations for possible off-site evacuations, and evacuations from the site as a whole may be necessary in the event of a natural disaster or active intruder incident. We're very excited in this part. The resource centers have been pursuing agreements with local churches and businesses to use their facilities as evacuation locations in the event students and staff need to vacate the resource center premises. And this is something we've never had before, so I'm super excited to be putting it in place. We're working on MOUs with everybody so that we can have these things. We have some great volunteer places that have offered us cones and access to their Wi-Fi and internet lines that plug in, and any equipment we might need we can store at their premises. And so this is really exciting, and it's just amazing how well they're getting into their communities and really exploring their communities and how they can protect our students as well. So the other part of 22-23's exciting news is that we're getting to know the risks in our own communities. And this is something that I've been hoping to get the chance to do, but it's also really hard to pull off. We're having people walk our campus and really think about what risks are in our communities and how they're individualized by resource center and location, because not all of them have the same risks. Obviously, we're required to run earthquake drills and fire drills and possible intruder drills, and these are all commonalities that we have, but their differences also need to be explored and prevented, so we want to take care of that. So things like in this city they're located in, is it high risk for a water main break after an earthquake? What about a train derailment or a gas leak? And if you've ever walked some of our campuses, you know exactly which ones I'm talking about that have these unique scenarios. So like we know one of our resource centers sits right along a street that has a water main running right through it for the city. And so if there were any reason for that to break, imminent flooding would occur. And we want to make sure that the students know where to go, how they can be evacuated, what can happen, and that facilitators and staff are equipped and ready for that. So they've been great about setting up their to-go bags, these amazing, massive to-go bags that they wheel out with them. They've got crates ready to go, and they're just really setting up for their unique scenarios now, which is fantastic. So, and of course, as a safety team, preparation and prevention is always our motto, and it's the thing we work for the most. So I'm happy to take any questions you might have.
Hey, Kim.
Hi, Rob.
Yeah, I mean, all of these procedures and these great tools for communication is necessary in this day and age, unfortunately. I'm just sitting here thinking about the Parkland shooting in particular, almost 5 years ago, where pretty much everybody knew the problems that this young man was having. He was on the FBI radar. He was very well known in the school setting among students, teachers, security, everybody, but nobody seemed to be responsible or able to do anything about it until after the shooting occurred. And, I think my question here is just, are you guys prepared with some type of communication system for that in terms of making your staffs, that doesn't sound right, but your staffs aware of who to communicate any disturbing signs to, and so on and so forth?
Yes, that's a great question. So one of my key goals for this year is trying to persuade our current MTSS procedures to include more of that kind of information being shared more freely. And so, in fact, I've been working with Dana Blood, our high school counselor. She and myself and Julie Malkus at the Santa Clarita Resource Center are really interested in creating a reporting system for staff members, parents, and students that would allow them to fill out a form or a questionnaire of some sort, kind of a testimonial real quick. I call them red flags. And so the goal is to create a system that would allow these red flags to alert us of any possibilities. We've also been equipping our facilitators and our PLTs with more knowledge about what an indicator might look like. That should be something that should be shared with everybody. And by giving them these key indicators in their toolbox, this is information that says, hey, if you see this, this, and this, you should report it to these people. And so we're working on building that toolbox out for them. We've given them indicators. Now we're working on the back half of that and trying to create an MTSS that really builds up into this system and links the safety and the academic individual side. So we have a great SST team that does the student study team. I apologize, I'm using a lot of acronyms. I'm going to try to remember not to do that. But our student study team does a fantastic job noticing those indicators and things like you're talking about right now that academically influence the students and identifying them and moving them into programs that support them and really take care of them and give them supplementals. And what we're trying to do through the other side of that process is bring in the safety aspect and letting those be known. These are indicators, these are things when you're observing. We're working on a way of having a shared database or keys of communication so that everyone becomes aware of things. Because I now hold a role that allows me infinitely more access to school pathways, I've discovered that there are some things built into our SIS that can actually be utilized for keeping notes and communication. And so the next step on that would be having training for everybody to know this is where these notes and this communication is going to be kept. You need to be reading through it. And should you notice anything as well, then you can go into it. So these are tools that are built into our SIS system already, a school information system. And we just need to utilize them appropriately. So that is a goal of mine. It's not necessarily on the safety side all the time. Sometimes it's on that MTSS team side. And so bridging the gap between the two of those is really what we're working on, is who's going to be on that team? How does communication work? The high school counselors would like to start doing some screenings and things. You hit one or two indicators on that list. That form's been filled out a couple of times by some different sources. Then they're going to step in and they're going to look into doing screeners and having conversations with that student and kind of really ascertaining what can be done to support that student and maybe help them through these scenarios, or what needs to be conveyed to staff so they can continue to watch and monitor for any possible anythings. I hope that helps.
Good. When you say staff, you include PLTs, I'm assuming, right?
Yes, always. The facilitators and PLTs are what I consider boots on the ground. They are absolutely included in everything.
And I would even like to hear that PLTs are actually prioritized in terms of training, in terms of emphasizing the fact that they're the point of the spear, so to speak. You know, as far as contact with the families, with the students, and any red flags they see.
Yeah, definitely. I can duly note that. Any other questions?
I was just curious. This is a great presentation. And so you were saying that you have all these ideas and stuff that we still need to implement and that you still want to implement, but obviously, you know, like it takes more than, you know, two, 3 people to do these things. I guess my question is how many people would you need to implement this? And if you were able to do that, would you be able to then go back down to a smaller team to just run it? Or I don't know, am I asking that?
These are great questions. Yes, and I completely comprehend what you're saying. So okay, if I had a perfect world,
yes, Yes, in
I
a
would
perfect world.
Yeah. At bare minimum, I would love to see a full-time position for a safety coordinator. I think that if you had one person who was able to dedicate 40 hours a week to research, I do a lot of vendor comparing. None of these vendors were chosen overnight by me. All of them went through rigorous screenings. I compare at least 3 to 5 vendors on everything. It's just me. Because I like to know. I get quotes from at least 3 to 5 vendors. I do my research on all of them. A lot of them allow you free trials so you can play with things and try them out beforehand. I'm not sure if any of our current board members were on when we first started with Verkada, but if you were to go back and watch those old meetings, I even showed how I sent a link so they could all see the cameras and what the footage looked like and everything, because Verkada allowed me, 2 days to play in the system before I made a decision. And so I think if you had someone with the ability to, there are policies we want to implement. One of our resource centers has recently identified a possible risk with students having objects on campus of certain danger levels. And they would like to have a policy in place that would allow them to move a little more freely in search, possibly handheld metal detectors and things like that to improve safety. And I'm on board with that. But that's me researching a policy. That's me finding all of that information, writing it correctly, collaboratively with Craig, making sure it's all in alignment, that I'm not overstepping my bounds, that student privacy is being protected. So you can see where this, in my opinion, could be a full-time job with someone who could do that. And then under that, you could have a team of about 3 or 4 volunteers that could just kind of implement, run, and support and be a part of. And that team could go down or increase depending on whether or not you're trying to implement something new or not. The size of the team levels at the resource centers, I always think they should be bigger, but all of those team members are employees already. They're volunteer for the most part, unless you're a campus monitor. That comes with certain obligations because you are a paid position. But the rest of the team members at the resource centers are, science facilitators, English facilitators who all said, I want to give the extra time to be a part of this and have an active leadership role. So in a dream world, you would have at least one full-time coordinator manager position who completes the documents that are necessary for the state. Sometimes I spend hours and hours writing documents. You've read through a few of them, so I know it takes me several weeks to write documents sometimes. So one person full-time doing this job would be ideal. And then under there, I think their team could shrink or grow dependent upon the needs of the organization and the implementation processes.
Okay, awesome. Secondary question. Do you feel then after asking that and getting your opinion and this presentation, do you think that like we would benefit from maybe a roving certified nurse or something like that would be able to give this trauma care and stuff, like would that, or give this training, or maybe even maybe she or he is certified and then able to also do this? Does that seem like something that maybe we should consider?
We've actually had this conversation before, and one of the parts that Truth and I find very tricky about determining this is what would a roving nurse do on a constant basis? Because certainly when the need arises, it's there and we have a need. But when the need does not arise, which we all know 98% of the time there's no need, what would this person be doing? What would they be maintaining?
Well, the safety.
Yes, and if you wanted to look for a nurse that would be both a nurse and a safety coordinator, I could see that would be beneficial. I think if you were trying to separate the two positions, I don't know that a nursing position would necessarily, I have a hard time defining what that position would do on a consistent basis. I know exactly what they would do for a good 2 months. And then after that, I struggle with what they would do after that. But if you wanted to have some kind of combined, if that was something you guys as a board wanted to pursue, a position like that, I can definitely see how requesting or requiring a safety cap, like a safety position to have some kind of nursing degree or some kind of credential would be very beneficial, because some of our documents and things that we submit to the state, we have a vendor that signs for us as a nursing person to get like our EpiPens and things. It is required that we have a prescription. A nurse who writes a prescription has to do that. And at a traditional brick and mortar, they would have a school nurse who is licensed to write that prescription and request EpiPens for them. We, however, are not able to. So we have to rely upon our authorizers and a vendor who can write these prescriptions for us in order to give us EpiPens so we can have the proper equipment. We also need a prescription to have an AED on all of our sites, and we do have an AED. So I can see that there would be benefits, but I don't know that I would be able to 100% commit to that as a standalone position. But as a combined position somewhere, I could see that truly being beneficial.
Okay, thank you so much. I
You're welcome.
appreciate it.
Kim, I've got kind of a follow-up here. Again, just looking at your presentation and all of these tools available, they're almost all notification tools, as far as notification or gathering images type tools to make decisions about an intruder. And by that time, it's not too late, but it's almost too late. It's just notifying almost to duck and cover or to lock the doors or whatever. But my biggest concern is that we don't even get to that point. I don't think any of us want to get to that point. And so the communication, I think, between facilitators and PLTs is a critical piece. And staff, decision makers, directors, of course. I wish we had at least one of the RDs on the call here tonight in the board meeting so that they could respond to this. But in terms of the facilitators at the RDs communicating with the PLTs in terms of academic progress, how their students are doing academically, that's been something that's been discussed and has been kind of refined, I believe, hopefully improved on over the years. But in terms of communicating maybe some social emotional issues or with individual students, with a particular PLT students, and maybe this is beyond your scope of the safety committee, but it's something that does need to be addressed by the directors in terms of not even getting to this point and dealing with those students that are showing behaviors that are a little bit troublesome or concerning, and that the PLTs and the facilitators are in very good communication with one another. So I'm not sure if that's beyond your scope or if you're part of that as well in terms of safety.
Well, the goal is to build that MTSS team that would really root that out. And I believe that team is comprised of many components. There's us as the safety aspect, which is we provide anything you might need supply wise or building a platform or something for that communication. But on the reverse end of that is the high school counselors are completely involved in that process. The resource center supervisors are trying to be involved in that process as well. And so I know that they're working on forming a team. I know that it is a high priority for both Denise and Gary, and that they are really hoping to have some sort of expansion to this preventative process. Again, that is the MTSS built out. We've talked to multiple vendors this year. Dana is fantastic in her spearheading of this. And so I would expect that you would hear something about that on the horizon. Know that that iron is definitely in the fire, and I'm happy to take any of this back to them to kind of help them get a little direction in what you guys would like to see.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, any other questions or comments? All right, thank you, both of you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. All right, we're going to go ahead and adjourn to closed session. So let's see, if you get an invite to a breakout room, go ahead and accept that. Right, it looks like I've got just about everybody back. Waiting for Talia. All right. That should be everybody. We're going to go ahead and reconvene to open session. I've got 6:52 p.m. There is nothing to report out from closed session. So we're going to go to our last just action item. That'll be the review, discussion, and approval of the proposed agreement with San Bernardino County regarding CalSTRS. At this point, there is not an agreement ready to be accepted or approved. So I would just ask that this item would die for lack of motion. Give it a moment. Right, and nothing on this item then. That should conclude all of our action items. Items for next meeting. I'm not sure, Truth, do you know of anything for the November meeting yet? Is that first interim or is that December? Or
It could be in next month or December, as long as it's done before December 15. So it
Okay.
just depends, yeah. But I'm sure there are things that will come up for the next meeting.
I've got on my calendar November 17th. Does anybody know of any reason why that is not that's changed or that won't work for our next meeting?
I think if I'm not mistaken, there's a conference coming up the third week.
That is the third week, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be at the conference.
That's the, okay. So, and the following week is Thanksgiving, so we may need to bump up to the 10th. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, the 10th would be that second Thursday.
You mean the 10th? You mean the 10th of what, November or December?
November, yeah, because you're saying the third week of November you have a conference, the 17th?
Keisha, what are the dates?
It's the
Okay.
oh, it's actually the 14th through the 16th. So we might be back on the 17th.
Yes.
17th might work.
Yes, okay. I think we put it for the 17th because we'll be back by then.
All right. And that's 5 weeks, I think, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 5 weeks out from now, from today. That gives IT a little bit more time. If ideally, I'd like to have us reconvene to a meeting in person at that. Tentatively, I would say AV Resource Center for that meeting. All right. So at this point, that's what we're aiming for, November 17th, 4 p.m. And then we'll be in touch just on any other items. So as we make the agenda for that meeting. I think that's actually it for the night. So thank you all. Have a good evening and good weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Thank you. Hey Coleman, real quick, do you have any idea whether Dory went into the breakout room or not? Or do you know if she left during